Good morning, everyone. Good morning, classmates, especially to our teacher, Mrs. Jenna May Azarcon. My name is Marriel Manatad. The article that I choose is all about Article 3094 to 3096, and I'll be the one to discuss it. Article 3094. Ratification may be effected by the guardian of the incapacitated person. Article 3094 of the Civil Code refers to the situation where a person is legally incapacitated, meaning they are unable to make decisions or take actions on their own due to age, mental or physical disability, or other reasons. In such cases, the person is appointed a legal guardian who is responsible for making decisions on the behalf. According to Article 1394, the guardian of the incapacitated person has the power to ratify or give formal approval to any contracts or agreements that the incapacitated person has entered into. This means that the guardian is able to validate or confirm the validity of the agreement, making it legally binding. In summary, Article 1394 of the Civil Code states that a legal guardian of an incapacitated person has the power to ratify contracts or agreements by the incapacitated. An example of an issue involving Article 1394 of the Civil Code could be as follows. Suppose an elderly person with dementia signs a contract to purchase a large sum of goods, but their mental incapacity renders them unable to understand the implications of their actions. In this case, the person legal guardian could step in to ratify the contract, making it legally binding if they believe it is in the best interest of the incapacitated person. However, if the guardian feels that the contract is not in the best interest of the incapacitated person, they can choose not to ratify it. In this case, the contract would be considered void and unforeseeable, as it was signed by someone without the legal capacity to do so. In this example, the ratification power granted to the guardian under Article 3094 plays a crucial role in protecting the interest of the incapacitated person and ensuring that any agreements they enter into are legally binding and in their best interest. Article 1395. Ratification does not require the conformity of the contracting party who has no right to bring the action for annulment. Article 1395 of the Civil Code of the Philippines states that the ratification of a contract does not require the conformity of a contracting party who has no right to bring an action for annulment of the contract. In other words, if one of the parties to a contract does not have the legal capacity to challenge its validity, then their consent or agreements is not necessary for the contract to be considered ratified. Article 1312 of the Civil Code of the Philippines provides for the circumstances under which a contract may be annulled. If a party does not have the right to bring an action for annulment under Article 1312, then their consent or agreement is not necessary for the contract to be considered ratified. These provisions serves to emphasize the importance of ensuring that all parties to a contract have the legal capacity to enter into and enforce the terms of the agreement, and to prevent the ratification of contracts that are entered into by parties who are unable to do so. An example to illustrate the concept of Article 1395 is suppose there's a contract between a minor who is under 18 years old of age and an adult for the sale of a car. According to Article 1312 of the Civil Code, the minor does not have the right to bring an action for annulment or cancellation of the contract because they are not of a legal age. However, if the minor decides to keep the car and make payments as per the contract, they are effectively ratifying the contract. In this case, Article 1395 comes into place stating that the ratification of the contract by the minor does not require their formal consent or agreements, as they do not have the annulment. Article 1396 of the Civil Code of the Philippines states that the ratification of a contract cleanses it of all of its defects from the moment it was constituted. Article 1313. In other words, ratification is a process where the parties involved in a contract confirm and accepts its validity and enforceability, even if there were defects in its formation or execution. By ratifying the contract, the parties effectively cure any defects that may have existed and make the contract valid and binding from the date it was originally formed. Here is an example of how Article 1396 can be applied. Suppose A and B entered into a contract to sell a piece of land. However, due to a mistake, the contract was not signed by both parties realized the mistake and signed the contract, thus ratifying it. As a result of the ratification, the contract is considered valid and binding from the moment it was originally constituted, despite the initial defect of not being signed by both parties. In this example, ratification cleans the contract of its defect from the moment it was constituted and made it valid and enforceable, even though it was not initially signed by both parties. Another example for Article 1396. Diane forced Sheila to sell the latter's horse. Later on, the horse gave birth to a colt. If Sheila should ratify the contract, after the question is, who is entitled to the colt? Answer: Sheila, because ratification has a retroactive effect. It validates the contract from the date of its execution. But if the horse had been sold by Dayan to Lani, who act in good faith, the subsequent ratification by Sheila of the sale to Dayan cannot prejudice Lani. Again, my name is Marriel Manatad, and that's all for my topic. Thank you.